my name is Allie for those of you who don't know me, and I'm the maker behind Crochet in the Mud, where I do both crochet plushies as well as pottery. And today is going to be another one of my weekly makes videos where I show you everything I made for the past week. So this will be our last normal week for a little bit. This coming week I do have a market, which kind of throws things off just because it's a Friday market. And I'm also doing a kiln load. So this week I'm doing a bisque firing, and then I'm going to start glazing, and then I think next week is the glaze firing. But it's not going to be, normally I bisque, unload the bisque, glaze everything, load the glaze, fire it, and then unload in all one week. But because it is a market week, we're not going to do that. So I haven't quite decided what I'll do next week in terms of pottery pricing, but we'll figure that out next week. That's next week's problem. But then after next week, I start online virtual training. It's going to be roughly part-time for 2 weeks, and then I'm going to start working full-time for the summer until about mid-August. So we will see how much I can accomplish while doing that. It has been, I think it's been a year and a half since I've had a regular job, so we will see how that goes. But this week was also a joint pottery and crochet week, so whatever you refer normal as. I for a while have been doing a full week of crochet, and then the next week I have 2 days in the pottery studio, 1 day at the store I work at, and just keep repeating. So this was one of the second weeks. I had 2 days in the pottery studio and 1 day at the store I work at, so not quite as productive as last week, which was 5 days of fully just crocheting. But I'll jump into what I did this week. So I'll start off by showing you what I made in the pottery studio. I did take a video. So I managed to crank out 28 herb strippers, which hopefully will last me a bit. They are my best sellers in terms of market inventory for pottery, and I sell those for $15 a piece. Unless the glaze fills the small hole, then I will discount it to $10. I also made 1 mug and 3 lidded vessels. I was working on making an urn for a friend for their cat who passed away recently, so it took me 3 tries to get the size they want, but I'll be able to sell the smaller ones as just a lidded vessel. So I don't know the price on those yet, but I'm calculating approximately $30, and then for the mug approximately $30 as well. But my mugs, I have a spreadsheet for the pricing, and I base that off of the complexity of the design as well as the ounceage the mug holes. So if this is your first weekly makes, when it comes to pottery, I calculate those as 70% complete in terms of my pricing for how much I made this week in inventory. And then I guess I'll do 30% when it comes out of the glaze kiln. I don't know. Haven't decided that yet because I have yet to have a glaze kiln done for a weekly makes. But now I will jump into the crochet inventory, which is probably what you're here for. The start of this week was the end of April, so I was wrapping up my How Much Yarn Can I Use in April challenge. I'll tag it up here. Go ahead and watch it if you haven't already. So I was finishing up some whips. So I finally finished the rest of the frog hats that I had made for the chicks with frog hats. These guys I sell for $16, and I made 2 of them, finishing out what I had left in my whips bucket. These are absolutely adorable, and so far they've been doing really well at both my store and my markets. I also, if you watched last week's video, made my second giraffe finally to figure out the price. This is the giraffe from the Crochet by Jenna book. All of the patterns will be linked in the description below if you're interested in any of them. But this one actually came out to $48 with my formula. So I base my pricing based off of how long it takes me to make, the amount of materials it requires, as well as adding in a profit margin. So $48 for this guy. Hopefully somebody will love it. I think it is an adorable giraffe pattern. I also, if you watched my shopping at all the Joann around the metro area, I found this really cool rainbow yarn. So I wanted to try it out, and I'm absolutely in love with this yarn. I have not been back to my local Joann since I bought the yarn, and the yarn is now at 50% off, so I'm hoping there's still some left. But I told myself I have to hold off until my market this Friday to get some more money to spend on yarn. So hopefully I can find it again there. I also gave it some nice gold eyes, if you can see them. But if my local Joann is sold out, I can find this yarn online. I think the color was just called Rainbow. This is Lion's brand Cover Story. And I do have about another skein and a half of this. But I love this yarn. And while I was making rainbow whales, I went ahead and finally used my Big Twist Plush crayon box variegated. That's the color of this yarn. And it's not quite as cool as the other one, but it's still really fun of a whale. Oh, and both of these whales are $42. They are a little more than my Bernat Blanket whales because they took more materials. So $42 for those two. And then I was looking at my Parfait Chunky yarn and wondering what combo I can make, because I'm starting to get low, but I'm planning to buy more. Probably after the Memorial Day market, I think, is when I will place my next premiere order, just so that I have 2 markets under my belt, and the Memorial Day market had better make money. I spent a lot on that booth fee. But I did a pink and yellow, like pink lemonade dragon, and I think it came out adorable, and I'm sure someone will love it. I am down to only 2 dragons of market inventory, so this will make 3. I currently have a pink on pink Parfait Chunky dragon, and then I have a solid blue Bernat Blanket dragon at the moment. So hopefully someone will love this one. I found, it could have been a coincidence, but I think the 2 different colored dragons sell better than doing like a dark and a light of the same color. Could have just been that one market that everyone was buying my 2-tone dragons. Not sure. But I'll try this one out on Friday and we'll see if it sells. But if not, it'll go to my Memorial Day market and I'm sure it'll sell there. And then I had to start focusing on the fact that I do have a market this Friday. And I made axolotls. So back in January, I did a challenge to see how many axolotls I can make in a week. And I made 50. And then only 2 markets later, I was down to 12 axolotls left, which I guess is a good problem to have. I am considering raising the prices on them because I don't care for making them, but they sell so well. They're currently $18 each, so I might raise them to $21 possibly. The thing holding me back is I just don't want to go and re-tag everything. But I don't like pricing items at $20 because oftentimes at markets people assume I don't charge sales tax, which I do. I'm a legal business. I am required to charge sales tax. So instead of someone just handing me a $20 for their $20 plushie and walking away, if I make it $21, then they'll have to give me more than that and not try to run away before I tell them they're total with sales tax. That's just my way of going about it. But I made 14 axolotls in total. So I was completely sold out of pink. This is my best-selling color, and I made 5. Hopefully that will get me by at least my Friday market. It most definitely will not get me through my Memorial Day market, so I'll probably have to make more of this. However, I'm running low on the hot pink, so we'll see what happens there. So 5 pink, and I just went down the rainbow. I also enjoy having a rainbow of axolotls at the market because it's a fun setup. So I was also out of the hot pink version, so I made 1 of this. I was out of orange, so I made 1 of this guy. I'm doing well still on green and blue, and then I can't recall if I was sold out of this or not, but I made 3 more light purple. I think I was sold out, yeah. So 3 more light purple. And then if you don't already, I highly, highly, highly recommend doing a gray and a black version of axolotls. They sell really well anytime I have them. People are so excited to see these colors. and I was sold out of both of them, so I made 2 gray and 2 black, bringing me to 14 axolotls for the week. Now I want you all to hold me accountable. I am doing another May how much yarn can I use in a month challenge, and I'm trying to use my yarn that is not Bernat Blanket. I have a bunch of the Michaels yarn that I haven't touched in years, the Chenille Home Slim and Sweet Snuggles Light. I have Bernat Velvet. I have Naughty Ball regular and Naughty Ball Deluxe. I have just chenille yarn that I don't really care for, and the Parfait Chunky, which I will be repurchasing Parfait Chunky. This week, because it's a market week, I probably will use a bunch of Bernat Blanket. So after next weekly makes video, I want you all to yell at me in the comments if I did not use yarn that was not Bernat Blanket. I can still make a couple items with Bernat Blanket, but if I made all Bernat Blanket, I want you all to yell at me. Try to hold me accountable for the month of May of using up my yarn that is not Bernat Blanket, please. So now that I've told you all to hold me accountable for these coming weeks, I shall tell you what all my stats were for the week. So I made 52 items between plushies and pottery this week, which came out to $846 of inventory. So that does meet my minimum goal of $750 for the week. Not quite my high-end goal of $1,000, but I'm very satisfied with what happened this week, and I have a feeling that this coming week, especially because Wednesday is going to be fully a glazing day and Friday is a market day, we won't hit the goal. But I'm talking too much about this coming week. We are focusing on what I did this past week. And then if you're curious, of that $846, 531 of that was plushies. And now for my market inventory, we are doing really well so far. So I'm up to 356 plushies. 100 something of that is pocket octopus, but it still counts as 356 plushies, which brings our current market inventory of plushies only to $6,773. This makes me feel really good going into my Memorial Day market. I still have, is it 3 weeks away? Yes, I still have 3 weeks to make inventory for that. And the goal for that market is to get up to $8,000 of plushie inventory, ideally $1,000. But with the part-time work coming up and having a market this Friday, I don't think we'll get to the 10,000, but I do think we can get to the 8,000. So we're about a little over $1,200 away from getting to $8,000 of inventory. I usually sell between like $600 to $800. So we'll say I need to make $2,000 more of inventory in the next 3 weeks, which I think we can definitely do. Thank you so much for watching this week's Weekly Makes video. Let me know which of the plushies I made this week is your favorite, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!